On a day like this, the first president of Kenya, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, died. The truth of the matter is that his funeral had been arranged 10 years before his death. When he died, people just went to the north side, and that is a secret that was kept even from him because it had been planned. It's just like who is going to prepare the coffin? You go and talk to the carpenter. Who is going to do this? Who is going to supply this? You talk to them, and then just tell them, just wait until we tell you. But today I wanted to say uh, where I was on the day Jomo died, that day from morning till evening. It was August, and we were waiting for September school opening. It was just like any other August. We were staying in Madaraka Estate, MF43, Doa K. We used to stay there. We had a landline. We had a landline in our house, number 55, 55, 60, 59. 55, 60, 59. That was our number. Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Eldoret. I'm not sure about Eldoret, but Nakuru. Very few towns had this direct call. The other ones you used to call through the operator. But as more towns started getting more landline, then each town started being given a telephone code number. So Nairobi was given 02. So if you're outside Nairobi, if you're in a place like Kitale, because I remember we used to get a lot of phone calls from Kitale, you would get a phone call from Kitale through the operator. So in Kitale, they used to cycle that thing. After cycling that thing, then they tell the operator, give the certain number. I remember my stepmother had relatives in Kitale, and we used to get a phone call from Kitale where we'd say, you are, and it was very fast. You'd not even be given time to think. You'd be told, unapata simu reverse call from 22Y7 Kitale. Utakubali your reverse call ama nikate? But I used to know that my stepmother had her sister in Kitale, so I would accept it whether I was the only one alone or whatever. But the phone used to be in the master bedroom, and the phone used to, whatever we used to be paid for by the government, because my father had been working for, first of all, a traffic police under Mr. Ravel, and then later he was seconded to NYS. He was a police officer seconded to NYS, just like Bruno Shosho is seconded to Coast Guard and is a cop. So we had that landline, and I remember it was just a normal August. My stepmother received a phone call from my father from his office in the NYS office. She came back and said, of course, she hung the phone, and then she came and asked if everybody was around. We checked each other. We found we were all around except my step brother, Peter. Now, Peter, in our home tuna mama watatu, mimi wa Kikuyu, Peter wa Maragoli, and the stepmother who brought us up had no kid. She died childless. She was a Tiriki. So this childless stepmother of us summoned us and wanted to know if we were all there. We found Peter was not there. We just said, Natembea hayuko. Natembea is the nickname we had given Peter. Peter used to, after just breakfast, he would go wherever he wanted to go and would only come back in the evening. Nobody knew where he was going until he came back. So we used to call him Natembea. I'll tell you the meaning of Natembea. Now, we looked around and we were there. Then she said, "Your father has said those who are around should be in the house, should not leave the house." So we sat in the house and we were watching TV. The TV was okay. I think this was around lunchtime, noon to one, somewhere there, noon to one. So again, the phone rang. She took and she told our father that we are all present except the usual one who never stays around. That is said, should he come, should my stepbrother Peter come, he should be told not to meander away. He should just be around. He should just be around, not leave. So she said, okay, I'll tell him. Then my father told my stepmother that Mzee, in vernacular, over landline, that Mzee Jomo Kenyatta is dead. And we do not know what will happen to the country. Just pray for me. You know, we are in Madaraka. The last few blocks, if you have been to Madaraka, there are some blocks which are yellow in color, from MF43 to MF46, and then also from MF20 to MF26. Those were yellow color. Those were houses that we did not pay rent. It is they were government houses. It is the employer who used to pay the city council those houses. But these other blocks, the tenants used to pay directly to the national they used to pay the National Housing Corporation through the city council. So we were staying in that house. So my father was worried. He said we pray for him because he does not know how he will leave Ruaraka National Youth Service headquarters, pass through and come to Nairobi, Madaraka Estate. But he said we pray for him because Jomo Kenyatta had died. So we listened to the TV, we watched the TV, we listened to the radio. No announcement came there. We were just tense in the house. So I asked her for permission from my stepmother if I could. She said, your father said you should just be within. He did not say that you be locked into the house. No, he said you should be within. So that if anything happens, if you hear bullets or anything, come back. Be in a place where, should the emergency be there, you rush back home. So we went there. There is a field that today is called Mikweches Field. We used to play football. I was not a good footballer. I think I was the worst. But the best footballer was Patrick Oley. Patrick Oley was Mikweches' immediate elder brother. He was better than Mikweche by far. But Mikweche was very good in no. Patrick Oley, especially when he was called to Kolanya High School for Form 5, he left football. But Mikweche had the love. You can be talented, but it should also, the love for the game should be there. So I went to the Mikwe, what today is called Mikweches. Of course, Mikweche was there. Kids were playing around. And I was trying to think, should I tell any of the... I was unable to say anything or whatever. I was tongue-tied. And I was very much in thought. Then something told me to look up in the sky. I looked up in the sky. Believe it or not, the sky changed. It was a hot day, cloudless. Then there are these clouds that are black grayish, light gray. They were coming. You just know that these clouds they can never bring rain. They only bring coldness. Then the whole town, or as far as my eyes could go, I saw the whole place become cool. It is just like being in Kibwezi in 1 minute, and then the next minute you are in Nairobi in July. Yeah, the environment became like Nairobi in July, and I was at Madaraka. So we're staying there. It was a bit, you are you want to tell somebody, but if you tell somebody and it turns out that Jomo Kenyatta is not dead, you see the special branch would come and round up the whole family and all of us. So that is the only thing that was stopping me from telling others that Kenyatta is dead. That was just whatever. We walked there. The whole thing was funny. Uh, then funny again. The day that appeared to be jovial, to me it appeared dull, maybe because of the clouds or anything. So we went back to the house. And around 3, at a time when I had the information for 2 hours, it is then at around 3 that information was passed that Jomo Kenyatta had died. Well, I later came to understand that VOK, as KBC was then known, had the information as early as 9 a.m. But was afraid of saying, everybody was afraid of saying that, everybody was afraid of going to say that Jomo Kenyatta is dead, because if he's not dead, it will turn up to you, just like I had been going around and whatever. I also wanted to say, I have watched severally this former police inspector who was the duty officer in police headquarters on the day Jomo Kenyatta died. One thing I want to say is that I rate him highly. I rate him highly because when I watch the videos, and that is why I usually like TV interviews more than radio interviews, or even more than newspaper interviews, is that you don't listen, even this one. You are not just listening to me, you're also looking at my body language. It tells you a lot. So the way this man talks, it tells me a lot that he is telling the truth. He's telling the truth, especially when he says that there's a time he talked to people, because he was the duty officer at the police headquarters, he talked to every people everywhere. Then in the morning, the vehicle took him, and then he got a traffic jam where Jomo Kenyatta was now being brought. And he asked somebody around, what is happening? Then the news came that Kenyatta has died. You see, for us who have been in those positions, there are occasions when you get out of your own life. Like recently, when I was writing a book on my life in police, I was reaching somewhere, and then I write down on the exercise book what was happening there, and then when I'm reading it, I'm shocked. Allah, you mean this is? I start learning again from myself. So this inspector, when he was, I think, along Jogo Road, and he saw a motorcade, he had even forgotten that it is him who had spread to the National Security Committee that Jomo Kenyatta died. There is something else that he said. I understand he was an inspector then, and I also rose to be an inspector, but you see, he was a general duty officer. You call it regular police. The real name is general duty, GD. He was a GD officer, and I was a special branch officer. There is something that he was naive, and even Gigi Karaoke was naive about it. He talked to what do you call? He talked to the Air Force commander, Colonel Gishuru, and told him to go to Mombasa and take. And Colonel Gishuru asked him, what rank are you? He said, I'm an inspector. Since when do inspectors give colonels instructions? I wanted to comment on that. One, there was a mistake there. He was the duty officer as an inspector, but what should have happened in that ideal situation is that after talking in the police headquarters, there were assistant commissioners and senior officers. He should have talked to that person to talk to the Colonel Gishuru. That is one option. Option number two, he is so naive that he doesn't know that the president is always with an ADC, and ADC represents the military. So the ADC, immediately the commander in chief died, the ADC, even those commander in chiefs who died after leaving job, I remember Moi died, Kibaki died. They still retain ADCs up to their death. It's only that the ADC may, yani most of the time is in civilian. So the ADC is answerable to the military. The minute Jomo Kenyatta died, in the next 5 minutes, all service commanders had received, the Navy commander, Air Force commander, and the Army and the Mulinga had received information from, what do you call it, over. He had received over from, he was called Lieutenant Colonel Samuel Macharia. God-given ability, photographic mind. Lieutenant Colonel Samuel Macharia communicated with those people. So when you have a certain position and you're told to go and do something, it is just a formality, just like the tape that I had recorded, that a decision had been made that Raila, that the Air Force people give evidence against Raila. Moi knew, but the Attorney General was to formally tell the president. So when this inspector was telling the Air Force commander that the Air Force commander was Colonel Gishuru, not related to Honorable Gishuru, but when he was telling Colonel Gishuru, Lieutenant Colonel Macharia, Samuel Macharia, had communicated through over to them in advance. But this was just a formality. And also, it's my feeling that if you find yourself you are the duty officer, today, it is impossible for an inspector to be a duty officer. But I'm saying, should you find yourself to be a duty officer at a place such as that, you call one of the staffing officers who are senior officers, like senior superintendent and above, tell them, and then they'll tell the military officers. And ladies and gentlemen, that is what happened to me on the day that Jomo breathed his last. Thank you.